But then I got the intelligence reports that there were 85 Soviet ships in the Mediterranean, that on those ships, among other things, were helicopters and landing barges, and that 3 Soviet airborne divisions, 50,000 men, had been placed on alert. Well, we could not allow the Soviet Union to intervene unilaterally there, because if they had, we would have been forced to intervene. I know that Senator Mansfield had told us earlier in the month, right after the war, he said, we don't want another Vietnam there. But another member of Congress, who was in the majority on the Democratic side, made it very clear to in contrast. He said, we want to be sure that Israel continues to have support. And I said, I will not let Israel go down the tube. And I knew that under the circumstances we could not stand by and let the Soviet Union move in, and that would risk a world war. So under the circumstances, therefore, I approved an alert of our forces, nuclear and conventional. A couple of days after that, Brezhnev backed down, and finally the ceasefire went into place. This is all by now the 26th of October, only 20 days after the Yom Kippur War began. November 1st, the tide had changed by that time. The ceasefire was in place. Golda Meir, shortly after that, flew into Washington, thanked me very generously for the support we had given. And November the 7th, after a time of elapsing of 6 years, Egypt and the United States normalized their relations, and Henry Kissinger started on his very successful shuttle trip. Summarizing it all, I think it's very important to note here 2 things. One, this is not a demonstration of détente failing but succeeding. Unless I'd had the personal relationship with Brezhnev, unless he knew from what I had said to him at Camp David that we would not stand by unless I had developed that kind of relation, and unless he was looking forward to another summit the next year, I do not think that we would have been successful in keeping them out. That helped. The second point is that we handled the whole situation in a way that saved Israel, but at the same time did not totally alienate the Egyptians, because the Israelis, by the time the ceasefire occurred, had all totally surrounded the Egyptian Third Army, which was on the other side of the Suez Canal. So they held back, and the Egyptians were appreciative of that. And so as a result, this was one of those wars which ended with peace without victory. And peace without victory is virtually the only kind of peace you can have that will survive in that kind of a situation. You can have too great a victory. If it is too great, what happens is you plant the seeds for another war.